All right, I'll go ahead and click this on. So here we are again, meeting for a kind of a continuation of the questions, and we want these meetings to be for you. So if you have questions, we want you to be able to answer them either early on or midway through or toward the end, whenever it's comfortable. We can wait a couple more minutes before Scott shares what he's going to share, what he put on the website. Just checking to see if there is anybody who has any thoughts about anything, having any issues, having any questions.
I do.
Yeah, go ahead. Fire away.
I'm losing weight. I was down to 104, and the doctor thinks it's the thyroid is too high. But in the meantime, nothing fits anymore. I put my shoes on in the morning; they fit. In the afternoon, it's about an inch and a half in the back giving, that they're not fitting, and I lose, the shoes. So it's a problem.
You're suffering the side effects of this diet. The side effects or this way of eating are that you lose weight, but you'll lose weight down to your ideal body weight. But unfortunately, you may have to buy some new clothes.
It doesn't work because in a week later, they don't fit no more. I'm losing. So, but
Did you say your thyroid was too high? Do you have to lower your dosage?
He did already. Yes, we did already. So, but I think I'm losing water or something. In the morning, my shoes fit. In the afternoon, they don't. And a week ago, I got some skirts, and now they're about an inch and a half too big. It just, I can't keep buying clothes, It's got to stop somewhere. What am I going to do?
Well, what is your BMI? Did you calculate that?
No.
So you can go online, do a Google search.
You look, I don't have online.
Oh, you don't have online. Well,
I think her other issue, Charlie, was that if she's over medicated on thyroid, her thyroid's too high, she might be losing more weight unnaturally because her thyroid's too high. So she needs just had her dosage lowered. So that might be contributing to what she's talking about.
It could be.
It was 120 milligram and now it's 90 milligram. It's for about a week now. But it doesn't do any good.
Do you have a rapid pulse? Do you have high elevated fever?
No. The pulse rate, yes, it can go from 87 to 90, up to 100.
Well, maybe you do have too much thyroid on board. 120 to 90.
Yeah, it gets not all the time, but it gets in the 90s, and yeah, I'm feeling like, hey, I got a lot of energy, but I can't sleep at night because I'm already doing lower. With the 90 milligram, I do less, and with the 100.
So if you're taking 90, you may need to be taking 60, or maybe need to be taking 30. That's up to you to decide with your doctor to keep following closely and
He will come back in 3 months. So by that time, yeah.
You can go back sooner if you're having symptoms. I mean, you call up and say, I'm concerned that I'm losing more weight than I think I should be, and maybe my dose needs to be a little lower.
Yeah.
It's just a phone call away.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah.
Okay. Just a thought. Anybody else? Okay, Scott, do you want to share what you had in mind there on the website?
Yeah, let's pull back up here. The homepage. So or class archives, I created another drop down, nutrition and medicine lectures. So you can either hover over it here and click on it here, nutrition and medicine lectures, or if you just click on class archives, it's down here. So nutrition and medicine lectures, those are the ones that we've had in September and October, and just had one just before class tonight. The Pacific Western University of Health Sciences, the medical school where Charlie's on faculty, and hosts these. I have them archived here so you can watch the recordings of the classes. So eventually I'll get the one from tonight and I'll get it posted right under here. And but here's the one from September, Real People, Real Stories, which had a lot of our class members tell their stories, including myself and Dolly and some other people in the class. And then just a week or two ago, Dr. McDougall on diabetes did a talk. And this is all was geared towards the medical students, but any of you guys are welcome to come to those classes. And I just like this week's class newsletter, I posted the link to the one that was tonight from 5 to 7. But if you missed that, you can catch them here recorded. So just wanted to share that with everybody. And then also just a reminder about tomorrow, the grocery store shopping tours. I'll go to the Eugene Plant-Based Providers website, and under upcoming events, you click on that. Here they are. Here's the information here. And so if any of you want to have a free grocery store tour with 2 of our dietitians that are in our Eugene Plant-Based Provider group, you can sign up right here. Just put in your name and email and hit send. And tomorrow at 6 p.m. is at the Albertsons on Hilliard. It's about 3075 Hilliard there in South Eugene. That's tomorrow at 6 p.m. And then if you can't make that one, there's another one on Saturday, this coming Saturday at 10 a.m. at the Winco on Mohawk. It's out there off on Olympic Street, I think is the actual address there in Springfield. So take advantage of those, and they're free and lots of good information there. So I wanted to remind everybody about those opportunities. And that's it. That's all I had.
Okay, any other questions or thoughts from anyone? Hearing none. You may choose to, in a few minutes or after we get done sharing these next little thoughts, I'm going to go to the question and pull that up and see where we're at here. I think you could probably see the screen, I hope.
Yep.
And we had left off.
Question 8 was the last one we did.
How are amino acids made, and how much protein and 500 calories of plants versus animal food? Okay, so let's go to where the answer is down here in 8. It says amino acids are all made from plants, which take nitrogen from the air, split the nitrogen gas and make it into amino acids. And the amounts of protein are almost identical, actually, between 500 calories of animal products and 500 calories of plants. Spinach is actually 40% protein, but the volume of food is a lot less with animal products. So the volume can fit in the palm of your hand, 500 calories of animal products, but 500 calories of plant products is kind of like maybe a volleyball size. So let's go ahead and see what this has to say about. I'm gonna click on the link and see what it says here. I don't know why these got kind of messed up, but they did. And it doesn't look like I can change them. But I still think we can see what's going on here. We're going to compare plant products versus animal products. So here are the plant-based foods, the plant products, and they're composed of equal parts of tomatoes, spinach, lima beans, peas, and potatoes. And then here's the animal products and their numbers. Even though the numbers are kind of back and forth, I think you'll be able to realize what they represent. Equal parts of beef, pork, chicken, and whole milk is for the animal-based food. So if you compare 500 calories of animal product with 500 calories of plant-based foods, look and see, there's no cholesterol in the plant-based foods, but the animal foods have 137 milligrams. Look at the difference in fat. There's hardly any fat in plant-based foods, but there's plenty of fat in the animal-based foods. Protein, if this doesn't surprise you, I don't know what will, but there's 33 grams of protein in the plants and 34 grams of protein in the animal foods in 500 calories of each type of food. So what does this tell you? It tells you that you'll get an adequate amount of protein as long as you eat an adequate amount of calories. So you do not have to eat animal protein to get a complete protein. You do not have to combine beans and rice. You just don't have to do it. The body is smart. It holds on to what it needs, but you'll get enough protein if you're eating enough calories. Look at the other values here. Beta carotene in plants compared to animal of 17 to 30,000. Vitamin C is so much more than in animals. Folate is so much more. Vitamin E, iron, magnesium, calcium, all plant foods are the winners when it comes to vitamins and minerals in comparison to animal foods. And then look at this category right across here. This one it causes the hair on the back of my neck to rise up because I get excited about it. I get excited about the fact that in plant foods, 500 calories can be about 30 grams of fiber. Whereas animal products, look how much fiber you get. And if you say, what's the difference? So what? What do I need the fiber for? Well, then if you don't know the answer to that question, you need to go back to the question before it. The fiber feeds the good, it's the food for the good bacteria in your microbiome. And if you feed those good bacteria their food, they'll feed you back anti-inflammatory chemicals, feel-good hormone chemicals like serotonin. It's so important to have an adequate amount of fiber. And that is the true deficiency in our diet. It is not protein. Protein is not the deficiency in our diet, in spite of everything you may believe or have heard. It's time to bust that myth, and we're trying to do that with you. Any questions on this so far? I'm looking at the whole room, looking for a hand, going once, going twice. Okay, I don't see anybody. You all have that down, I hope. Where do you get fiber? Fiber comes from plants. It's like the skeleton of mammals that have bones. No animals have fiber.
No.
Okay, good. We're on board with that. Let's go back to the next question, because I know that someone was worried about that we weren't going to get through this in time. I'm taking especially long because I'm having fun with it. So let's see. Chronic illness is generally determined more by lifestyle choices than by genes. That is not something I believed 10 years ago. I believed that our genes determined our health. I hadn't read the China study by T. Colin Campbell, But when I read his book, and I'd encourage you to consider doing that if you still believe that genes are more important than what we eat, which I don't think most of you do, or you wouldn't be coming to these classes probably, but if you're new, you might consider this concept. If people in rural Africa or China who have little chronic disease are moved to the United States, do their genes change?
No.
The answer is no. The genes stay the same. But when they begin eating the Western diet, the meat diet, they develop the chronic diseases at the same rate as in their new environment. So their genes have not changed. It's the food that changed and leads to the disease. So when you think heart disease and diabetes and hypertension and cancer run in your family, and therefore you're doomed to develop those diseases, think twice. Think about the fact that the genes, you may have the genes that make you more susceptible, but
It's not,
you
not
need
as-
to turn those genes on.
Mhm.
And what else runs in families? Diet and lifestyle runs in families too. So the same recipes, the same food, the same lifestyle, those run in families too. So that's what we gotta break, that cycle.
Yes. Okay. So any thoughts on that?
I agree totally because my lifestyle in Germany was very different. Meat and potatoes, and now it's plant food for a whole year, and I'm feeling very different, very more energetic. So yes, plant food is. I make every once in a while a little mistake, but not much. I stick with it.
Very good.
Yes. I went.
Oh, you have to mute again. I was going to be going unmute one more time.
Okay. Yeah. I'm totally sold on it. I've read already 9 books, but whatever, I went to the library and also the Goodwill and find the books for the nutrition and so on. And I can only say this is the best I can do. It's really, really helpful.
All right. Good deal. All right. Now we're going on to the next question, which is, I don't know what the next question is, but we'll get to it. It is
Number 10. Further up.
the side effects of milk and dairy products and side effects of calcium supplementation. So let's talk about side effects of milk and dairy products, because a lot of you are still thinking, well, you know, isn't that healthy? Doesn't milk have calcium in it? And, you know, so if you check out the article at Physician Committee for Responsible Medicine, White Lies, 5 milk myths debunked. One of the myths is milk builds strong bones. It's a myth. Milk and other dairy products are the top sources of artery clogging saturated fat in the American diet. More than 60% of people are lactose intolerant, and that leads to bloating and cramping and diarrhea. And here is let's see what this says here. The White Lies, 5 milk myths debunked. So the first one is milk builds strong bones. The dairy and bone health link is one of the most pervasive milk myths. And a large study at Harvard of 72,000 women for a couple decades found no evidence that drinking milk can prevent bone fractures or osteoporosis. That may be a surprise to some of you. So you may want to read through the rest about this, that drinking milk can help you lose weight. Another myth, milk is nature's perfect food. It may be perfect for, cow's milk may be perfect for a baby cow, but it's not perfect for human beings. And kids need milk to be healthy is another myth. And milk is heart healthy. Milk and dairy products are top sources of artery clogging saturated fat. That is not heart healthy. And so you could kind of read through this and click on those little blue highlighted areas yourself and convince yourself that maybe milk is not such a important thing to have in your life. And that includes cheese and milk products like yogurt. Okay, getting on to calcium supplements. Some of you may be taking calcium supplements right now. And the question is, are calcium supplements safe and are they effective? And so let's see if they're effective, first of all, and then we can just tell you about whether they're safe or not. You may be getting the idea. It's another Greger video.
There has been an assumption for decades that as a natural element, calcium supplements must intrinsically be safe. But calcium supplementation is neither natural nor risk-free, but the same could be said for every medication on the planet. Yet doctors continue to write billions of prescriptions for drugs every year, because the hope, at least, is that the benefits outweigh the risks. So what about the benefits of calcium supplements? Yes, heart attacks and strokes can be devastating, but so can hip fractures. The risk of dying shoots up in the months following a hip fracture. About 1 in 5 women don't last a year after a hip fracture, and it may be even worse for men. On average, apparently cutting one's lifespan short by 4 or 5 years. And unfortunately, these dismal statistics don't seem to be getting much better. So even if calcium supplements caused a few heart attacks and strokes, if they prevented many more hip fractures, then it might result in a favorable risk-benefit ratio. So how effective are calcium supplements in preventing hip fractures? We've known that milk intake doesn't appear to help, but maybe that's because any potential benefit of the calcium in milk may be overshadowed by the increased risk of fracture and death associated with the galactose sugar in milk. But what about just the calcium in a calcium supplement alone? Calcium intake in general does not seem to be related to hip fracture risk at all. And when people have been given calcium supplements, not only was there no reduction in hip fracture risk, an increased risk is possible. The randomized controlled trial suggests a 64% greater risk of hip fractures with calcium supplementation compared to just like getting a placebo sugar pill. Where did they even get this idea, then, that calcium supplements might help our bones? It was this influential study in 1992 that found a combination of vitamin D and calcium supplements could reduce hip fracture rates 43%. But this was done on institutionalized women, like in a nursing home, who were vitamin D deficient. They weren't getting sufficient sun exposure, and so if you're vitamin D deficient and you take vitamin D and calcium, no surprise, your bones get better. But for women living independently, out in the community, the latest official recommendations for calcium and vitamin D supplementation to prevent osteoporosis is unambiguous. Do not supplement. Why? Because in the absence of compelling evidence for benefit, taking supplements is not worth any risk, no matter how small. Now, this is not to say these supplements don't play a role in treating osteoporosis, or that vitamin D supplements might not be good for other things, but if you're just trying to prevent fractures, women living outside of institutions should not take them, and perhaps even in institutions. In this study, instead of giving nursing home residents vitamin D and calcium supplements, they randomized them to sunlight exposure and calcium supplements, and those that got the calcium pills had significantly increased mortality, lived shorter lives than the sunshine-only group. Although calcium supplements don't appear to prevent hip fractures, they may reduce overall fracture risk by like 10%. So here's how the risk-benefit shakes out. If 1,000 people took calcium supplements for 5 years, we would expect 14 excess heart attacks, meaning 14 people would have a heart attack that they would not have had if they had not started the calcium supplements. So they were effectively going to the store and buying something that gave them a heart attack, plus 10 strokes that otherwise would not have happened, and 13 deaths. People would have been alive had they not started the supplements. But that's all balanced against the 26 fractures that would be prevented. Now, it's no fun falling down, breaking your wrist or something, but I think most people would look at that risk-benefit analysis and conclude that calcium supplements are doing more harm than good. Given these findings, the use of these supplements should be discouraged, and individuals advised to obtain calcium from their diet instead. Calcium supplements have been associated with elevated risk of myocardial infarction, heart attacks, whereas dietary calcium intake has not. How much calcium should we shoot for? Interestingly, unlike most other nutrients, there's no international consensus. For example, in the UK, the recommendation for adults is 700 milligrams a day. But across the pond in the US, it's up to 1,200 a day. Whenever I see that kind of huge discrepancy between government panels, I immediately think scientific uncertainty, political maneuverings, or both. Newer data, based on calcium balance studies, in which researchers make detailed measurements of the calcium going in and out of people, suggest that the calcium requirements for men and women is lower than previously estimated. They found calcium balance was highly resistant to change across a broad range of intakes, meaning our body is not stupid. If we eat less calcium, our body absorbs more and excretes less. And if we eat more calcium, we absorb less and excrete more to stay in balance. Therefore, current evidence suggests that dietary calcium intake is not something most people need to worry about. This may explain why in most studies no relationship was found between calcium intake and bone loss anywhere in the skeleton, because the body just kind of takes care of it. Don't push it too far, though. I mean, once you get down to just a few hundred milligrams a day, you may significantly get more bone loss. Though there may not be great evidence to support the US recommendations, the UK may have the right idea, shooting for between 500 and 1,000 milligrams a day from dietary sources, unless you've had gastric bypass surgery or something and need to take supplements. For most people, though, calcium supplements cannot be considered safe or effective for preventing bone fractures.
So that's one video to answer both questions. Does anybody have any thoughts on that? I want to make a clarification. If you notice that he said there may be some benefit if you have been diagnosed with osteoporosis and you have a definite diagnosis, there may be some indication for using some calcium supplementation, but I don't know how strong the evidence is for that. Scott, have you heard anything recently about that, or what are your thoughts on that?
I think he sums it up pretty well there. I mean, might be that 26% benefit there, but then you got to factor that in with all those other, with the risks of heart attack and stroke and all-cause mortality. So it's a risk benefit, but like we would say, you don't need to take a supplement, just eat plenty of whole plant foods. It'll give you plenty of calcium, so you don't, that risk doesn't occur if you get it from your food, but if you get it from a supplement, then you get the increased risk. So I would just say, for my patients, I would just, based on the evidence, someone that's had gastric bypass absorption issues because of gastric bypass, they might need to take the supplement, but everyone else I don't think needs to. The vitamin D is a different issue. That's definitely, we need the vitamin D or enough sunshine, but calcium, pretty clear cut. The United States Preventive Services Task Force says do not supplement in general.
Now, you may not be aware, but the dark green leafy, you get your calcium from the greens and beans in your diet to a large extent. You may not be aware that the greens with the highest amount of calcium, there's 225 milligrams, I think, of calcium in in a cup of collard greens. So we have collard greens every breakfast time. But we also have lots of other greens and beans and other things. So, but that's just our thinking on it. If you don't like collard greens, I kind of like them fresh out of the garden. Christine likes them steamed. There are different ways you can prepare them if you like. Add a little balsamic vinegar on top of the steamed greens, and they are pretty tasty after a while. In fact, if I don't get them, I kind of miss them in the morning. And I must tell you, the first time I had greens for a breakfast meal was at, I don't know, some seminar. And I thought, what are they making greens for breakfast? It didn't make any sense to me. It was like we were in a foreign world. And yet they tasted pretty good, actually. And so from that point, we started with a leaf of, I think it was romaine. And then we progressed to a leaf of kale, and then went to a couple leaves. And then we went to a cup after a while, and then added the chard, and then added the collard greens until we got up to about a couple cups for breakfast, along with the rest of our food. So it's been a gradual transition for us. Just a thought.
I still just eat oatmeal for breakfast, oatmeal or fruit. And I've been eating this way almost 10 years too. It's like, I just haven't done that. I get greens other times of the day. I guess I'm kind of traditional breakfast guy.
Yeah. So I get that.
My doctor told me I needed to have calcium. So I bought the calcium supplements. Now, I guess I just throw them out.
So are you doing weight-bearing exercises and whatever else?
Yeah, 3 times a week, I have at least 10,000 steps, if not more.
Uh-huh.
So I'm quite active, yes,
All right.
with my whole body. And maybe that's why I'm losing weight too. I don't know. But should I continue? I had osteoporosis. It was diagnosed. Should I take the supplements on top of it?
That's an issue that I think you need to discuss more fully with your doctor. I can't really tell you to take it or not take it. I can share with you that maybe you could discuss some of the side effects with your doctor and say,
Yeah.
what do you think about this? The side effects, do you really think the side effects outweigh the benefits? And see what the response is. Even share the videos that are listed on this, where they could kind of view the video, go on to nutritionfacts.org, and maybe your doctor will learn that maybe they want to be using less calcium supplements.
What are the videos called?
They're at nutritionfacts.org.
Nutrition
And I will show you. I guess
facts. What is it? Nutrition facts?
if they're at nutritionfacts.org.
D-O-R-G?
Well, hold on a second. Let me see if I can get back to where I was. I got to share my screen is what I need to do. Okay, here's the share screen. Are calcium supplements effective, or are calcium supplements safe? Do you have can you take a photo of this?
Well, it's on the website.
It's on the website.
This document is on the website.
I don't have the website. I'm just writing it down.
How are you doing this Zoom class? Is this your computer or your cell phone?
It's no, not a computer. It's a tablet.
Oh, so you don't ever go on the internet or go on to websites?
No.
All right. Well, these are the
Awesome.
links. If you could take a picture of these, you could go to these links.
Let
You
me
see
see
them?
if I can do that.
Number 11.
My phone is not. It's a lemon. It's not gonna work right now. I'm just gonna. I don't know if it'll work. I'm gonna try.
Send me an email and I can send you the links.
My email. Okay, it's.
No, send me an email at,
I don't know how to do that.
oh, you don't? All
Okay.
right.
What? I'm impressed that you're able to attend class in the Zoom class, that you're pretty hip if you can do that. You should be, I'm surprised, yeah, you could send an email.
Somebody put the link into my tablet. That's how I got it.
All right, well, we'll have to kind of figure out how to deal with this. Give me some time to think about it.
Maybe I can put it in the mail or something.
Maybe, but
Either way, to put it on my tablet.
Could I add something?
yes, Beth.
Weight bearing exercise is different than getting your 10,000 steps, correct?
Well, walking would be considered weight bearing exercise, but you would also want to make sure anyone for bone health also want to do resistance exercise 3 days a week. So, light hand weights, arm weights, a little bit of squatting, any kind of resistance exercise, but weight bearing exercise, walking counts for that. So if you got 10,000 steps of walking, weight bearing exercise.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, Beth, I've seen it go back and forth. Some people say, walking doesn't really do it. And some people say, well, walk faster than you normally walk. And yeah, it becomes weight bearing. And, I haven't actually seen any definitive source which, has clarified that issue in my mind anyway. So I'd say that it's probably the most reasonable thing that anybody's going to be doing is walking to keep their health up as best they can. And like Scott says, doing some resistance exercises are good also.
Uh-huh.
thank you.
Yeah.
I cannot walk very much. What weight bearing exercises should I do?
Just standing and moving around in your home, not sitting, just standing and moving around, doing chores, gardening, whatever you can do, that counts as activity. 60 minutes a day.
Yeah, so move more, sit less. That's the best thing that you can do.
I had 9 hours of constant walking, doing things. So I'm not sitting.
Okay, that's good.
Very little. I have a watch that tells me, and that helps me a lot. It tells me it's so and so many steps more to do. And if it's 10,000, it goes boom, just hello, you made it,
That's
Yeah.
always exciting, isn't it?
Yes, it's good.
Great.
It helps to see I'm accomplishing something. Well, before I didn't even know it.
All right, let's continue on. So we've gone through that. We're going to get to the blue zones next. I want to make sure everybody is muted here because can be some background noise. Okay, we've got everybody muted here. And so let's get on to the blue zones, the longest lived, healthiest populations in the world. So we're going to go back, and if you're not familiar with the blue zones, you can check out the book, Blue Zones by Dan Buettner. These are populations that live the longest. and the healthiest, and they're like 95% plant-based. I usually tell people if you are born in a blue zone and you live a life of a blue zoner, doing 95% plant-based seems to work. But if you lived in the United States of America or in a place where you're eating a animal heavy diet, you develop heart disease, diabetes, cancer, other chronic illnesses at a more significant rate. And perhaps just going to 95% may not be enough to get you the benefits you're looking for because of the changes that have occurred in your arteries and in your organs. And that doing 100% may be what is required if you're going to get your full health benefits. Scott, do you have any comments about this blue zone issue?
Yeah, just to mention, the 5 blue zones are Icara, Greece, Sardinia, Italy, Okinawa, Japan, the Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica, and Loma Linda, California. And they are, 90-95% plant-based. The foods they have the most in common are beans, lots of beans, peas, chickpeas, split peas, lentils, lots of starchy vegetables, non-starchy vegetables. And then they also very small amounts of animal products, and then in processed foods. And then they also, have a lot of purpose in their life. They're moving throughout the day, kind of like the epitome of lifestyle medicine. Don't tend to smoke or drink a very small amount of alcohol. But yeah, very similar lifestyles and similar foods. And they not only live the longest, but have some of the lowest rates of things like diabetes, heart disease, cancer, dementia. And so there's a lot to be learned from that. But I agree with what Charlie said about, if we were to live that lifestyle our whole lives, we probably wouldn't get sick like they don't. But if you're already sick, then you might want to go a little bit further than what the blue zone diet is. But still, it is that's what I tell a lot of my patients that aren't necessarily interested in coming to class or learning about 100% whole food plant-based diet. At least kind of give them the data about the blue zones, and that there's a lot to be learned from that, a lot of wisdom in that, just to eat more whole plant foods. And that's a good starting point for a lot of the patients I see.
Any thoughts from anybody? Any questions about this? Someone's after me.
Let me can go here, show you guys where the document is if you didn't know already. Let's see here. Go back to under resources, and you can go to the class handouts from classes right here, and scroll down. Here it is, end of class questions and answer document. So this is what he's going over right here. That was number 12. Longest lived and healthiest populations in the world, the blue zones. Next is how our planet is affected by what we eat. Let's go down to 13. So you guys can have access to this document on the class website. So check out the following videos of nutrition facts, diet and climate change, cooking up with storms. That's a video you can watch. Some other videos on YouTube. But we actually had a whole class also on how what we eat affects the environment. So you can watch the archive class of that if you want more detail on that. But here's some other lists of some other videos and stuff and videos on YouTube that you can watch for that. I don't know if Charlie was going to watch this particular video. I think this one might be a longer one.
Yeah, I don't think we need to watch that for this session. I did want to add that when I 10 years ago chose to change what I was eating, I did it for my wife's sake. I did it for health reasons, human health reasons. I did it mainly for my wife's sake, and I don't know, I guess for my sake. I didn't really think it would make a difference in my life. I made the transition and I felt a whole lot better. And it's been 10 years and my wife has no evidence of heart disease, in spite of her very strong family history of heart disease. Dad dying at age 41 of his first heart attack, mother and brother both having bypasses on their heart, their chest cracked open and bypassed, and she next in line. Well, she's escaped that because of making the choice to do something different.
Mhm.
But then as I've been studying and learning more and more about this, I then learned about the impact on our world. And I was pretty skeptical at first. I had really believed that it was probably more important to get an electric car to reduce the effects of climate change and global warming. But as I see more of the facts and figures, and you could see in kind of the videos, if you take a look at this, the various options on this answer, you'll learn that raising livestock and animals for our food source contributes more to global warming than all the transportation in our country. And that's kind of a sobering statistic. And then carrying a little further, there's also the issue of how animals are treated.
Yeah.
And for our food source, how they're raised. And so I've kind of transitioned from just doing this for my own and my family's personal health, but also now for the sake of the world and the sake of the animals. And it's, I don't know, when I go to bed at night, it seems like a more peaceful way of thinking that I'm doing the best I can to help everyone in this world, not just my own family. One of the reasons why we choose to do these classes every week is not just for ourselves. It's the reason why I became a doctor is to help other people. And I gain satisfaction when I hear people are getting benefit from making changes in their life. You've kind of heard that story ad nauseum, or Scott may have at this point. We've been together a long time. And I'm amazed at how much time he has spent with this also. I'm kind of an old guy who's in the retirement stage. He's still making a living and making the house payments, I think. And so in the overall scheme of things, he's having to give up more of his time actually than I do. And so I just want to recognize that. And I hope all of you recognize that this is a commitment that is above what most people generally tend to do. So I'm grateful for him.
I think your schedule is busier than mine right now. The medical school.
It has gotten busier with the getting into the medical school, but last week I was kind of suffering the effects. I felt like I had a little bit of life sucked out of me at the last class. You noticed I may have been a little sleepier than usual, but I'm back with the energy level that I had before that. So we're getting it under control anyway. Anyway, with that said, we're going to continue on. Scott, you could take these next ones too about soy, and I know everybody has questions about soy and breast and cancer and that sort of thing.
Go ahead and share your screen. You can do it on your end. Back to your
Okay,
end.
I'll share the screen. And let's see, what is the question? It is
14.
soy reduces risk of recurrent breast cancer and increases life expectancy in breast cancer survivors. And so here is 14. There we go.
Yeah, so a lot of you might have heard that soy, you should avoid soy if you have breast cancer, for example. And before 2012, that was kind of the thought, because soy contains a type of estrogen called phytoestrogen. So phytoestrogen is, phyto means plant, so plant estrogen. And in rat studies on rats, when they gave the soy phytoestrogen to rats with breast cancer, that they'd given breast cancer, they actually got worse. And so that was where that came from. But then since that time, they figured out in 2012 that, well, one, we're not rats, and two, there are two different receptors for estrogen. We have alpha and beta receptors for estrogen, and it turns out that the phytoestrogen in soy in plants is actually blocks estrogen in places you want to block it, like in the breast tissue, and it actually enhances estrogen in places you want it, like in your arteries and your bones and things like that. And so they figured that out in 2012, and so actually soy lowers risk for cancer, including breast cancer. So it's the reason that they kind of wanted to investigate further was because, well, why is it that Asian women that were eating the most soy, they had some of the lowest rates of breast cancer? So that didn't really make sense. And so then when they figured this out, the two different receptors. So now officially the stance of the American Cancer Society and all the powers that be are basically, actually increase your intake of soy. Of course, you want the healthiest version of soy, which would be edamame, which is the whole soybean. That would be number one. Number two would be tempeh, which is just fermented soy with chunks of soybeans in it. That would be number two. And then number three would be tofu, because it's just minimally processed. And then the soy you might want to avoid would be like the soy protein isolate. So like processed soy, you would want to, people put that soy protein isolate in like a smoothie or something like that. You want to avoid that, because actually that spikes insulin-like growth factor, which could promote cancer. So IGF-1 is not your friend when it comes to cancer. IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1. And so, but it won't spike it with the whole soy. So so soy is good, it reduces risk for breast cancer. And I wanted to share the reasons why, what the studies show.
Great. Any thoughts on that? Anybody have?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Meryl.
Thank you. Is TVP what you're addressing, Scott? Is that the same thing?
I think it's a little bit different. Texturized vegetable protein. I don't know. I'd have to look at what.
Because I heard that was bad for you too. So
it's processed, so I would say it is bad because it's processed. I wouldn't recommend it, but I guess I don't know for sure if texturized vegetable protein has got soy in it or not, or if it's made from soy. But I would say in general, avoid it because it's just processed.
Let's do a quick little Google search on that. See what it says about TVP here.
And so now it's a question, is miso paste okay to use? So yeah, miso is fine. That's fermented soy. So that would be another good source. So just you're going to use it in a recipe or to make miso soup or something, for example. But yeah, miso, I'd put that up there around with tofu and tempeh and all that, because you're not going to be using very much of it at any one time. Good question.
So it says TVP, it's soy, remains high in fiber despite being more processed. And textured vegetable protein.
So I don't think it would be considered a soy protein isolate necessarily, but
I don't think so either. I guess that's a question we have to keep in our thoughts and see if it's addressed somewhere. It can be considered somewhat highly processed because it must be extruded, which causes a change in the structure of the soy protein. Many TVP producers also use solvents such as hexane to separate soy fat from the soy protein. So, like Scott said, probably not so healthy.
right. I heard that. I just didn't know why. the other product, a lot of whole food plant-based bloggers use is Butler's soy curls.
Yeah, and they seem to be a reasonably healthy choice.
Okay.
I'd say soy curls, from what I've read in the past, seem to be healthier than TVP.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other thoughts from anyone?
I bought a plant-based nutritional shake, but it's got, it's all organic and it's got no animal stuff in it, except it's got coconut in it. But coconut clogs up your arteries, doesn't it?
Yeah, it has a lot of saturated fat, so that's probably not the healthiest choice. And we learned from Dr. McDougall tonight about how, or Chef AJ, that when you chop up and process a food and you make it easy to drink, whatever it is, you lose that chew factor, you lose the bulk factor, and it's healthier to eat the foods as they're grown in nature is the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
What are soy curls?
Soy curls is a product that you can buy at the market, and it's I don't know, for people who are transitioning and they want to have something that tastes like either cut up chicken or maybe even it's got a texture of a meat, chicken or a beef. And it takes on the flavor of the food that you cook it with. So it's a soy product, which is not kind of mushy like tofu. If you get softer tofu, it's kind of mushy and soft, like beans that are crushed sometimes. Whereas the soy curl has a firmer texture to it.
Thank you.
If you've never had it before, it's probably worth trying. I wouldn't eat it every day, but occasionally it would be a treat, perhaps.
So where in the grocery store would I find this? I haven't seen it.
I don't remember. As I'm passing down the aisles, I can't remember which aisles it's in.
Natural Grocers
Yeah,
offers it.
Natural Grocers has it. I think
Yes.
probably Whole Foods or Market of
Maybe.
Choice might have it, but just ask someone, where's the soy curls? Any other thoughts? Okay. Let's go back to sharing the world at hand here with you, if I can. There we go. And share away. So we're going now down to 15. 15 is processed meats. Processed meats are considered class 1 carcinogens by the World Health Organization.
Mm-hmm.
What are processed meats? Anybody know?
Lunch meats,
Yeah,
Any-
lunch meat is one category.
anything like that. The
so-
sausage.
Yeah, sausage, anything preserved by curing, salting, smoking, drying, or canning. So some of the processed meats include sausages, hot dogs, salami, bacon, ham, salted and cured meat, corned beef, smoked meat, fried meat, beef jerky, canned meat. So what isn't processed? How about heating up meat? Like heating up chicken on a grill. Does that lead
No good.
to promoting heterocyclic amines? And I
Mhm.
think they're carcinogens also.
Yes, they are.
So where does that leave us with meat? It's
Leave it
not the
alone.
healthiest choice. Yeah,
Leave it alone.
leave it alone. Okay, leave the meat alone. That, I mean, I don't know. It truly is your choice as to what you eat, but it's these processed meats are class 1 carcinogen. That means that yes, there is definite evidence that in humans it causes cancer. And so you can believe that, or you could say the World Health Organization doesn't know what it's talking about, but I tend to believe them. Can you name 4 root causes of disease? You're thinking about it. What are the root causes? Why do people get sick?
Because they eat the wrong food.
That's one. That is definitely one. What you eat.
They smoke, they drink.
Yeah, that's the 2. That's like the chemicals they choose.
Mhm.
And then the
Bacteria.
exercise, we talked about that, how you move. And then what else?
Infections and bacteria.
Well, let's see, that could be a problem, but
You can't help.
that could be a root cause of disease, but it's, I don't know how much control you have of that other than maybe keeping yourself healthy by wearing a mask or washing your hands. That's good. I guess what I'm looking for is stress.
Bad-
How
bad-
thoughts can affect your health. And that includes how you sleep. It includes your social contacts. And you know, there's actually 6 things that the lifestyle medicine
Your work environment too.
work environment is important, those sorts of things. So there's a lot of things that contribute to health, but if you had one thing to change, in my mind, the one thing that would potentially do you the most good, assuming that you don't have such overwhelming stress that you can't do it, is to choose healthy foods,
Mhm.
really healthy foods. So let's look and see what the answer to 16 says here. What you eat, how you move, chemicals you choose, and how you react to stress in your life. Okay, 17. Nitric oxide, benefits for high blood pressure, benefits for keeping your arteries running smooth and relaxed and keeping them from getting sick or stiff. So I hope you all know about nitric oxide, but if you don't, this is where you're going to find out about it. We're going to play this video and then we'll see if you have any questions. So here we go.
It's great that we can improve athletic performance eating a few beets. But so what if you run 5% faster? It can be a fun experiment to eat a can of beets and maybe shave a minute off your 5K time. But these are the people who could really benefit from a more efficient use of oxygen, those suffering from emphysema. Yeah, young, healthy adults eating greens and beets can swim, run, cycle faster and farther. But what about those who get out of breath just walking up the stairs? Do nitrate-rich vegetables work where it counts? Yes, significantly extended time on the treadmill after 2 shots of beet juice. It's great that beet juice can decrease blood pressures in young, healthy adults, but what about those who really need it? Older, overweight subjects. Just 1 shot of beet juice a day versus berry juice as a control, and in a few weeks a significant drop in blood pressure, but within just a few days after stopping, after 3 weeks of beating themselves up, blood pressure went back up. So we have to eat our vegetables and keep eating our vegetables. Why did it take until 2015 to publish a study on lowering blood pressure in people with high blood pressure? You'd think that'd be the first group to try it on. Who's going to fund it, though? Big Beet? Blood pressure medications rake in more than $10 billion a year. You can't make billions on beets. But that's why we have charities, like the British Heart Foundation, which funded a study to give folks with high blood pressure a cup of beet juice a day for 4 weeks. After all, high blood pressure may be the #1 risk factor for premature death in the world. In 10 years, it could affect nearly 1 in 3 adults on this planet. But put them on beet juice and blood pressures dropped and kept dropping until it was stopped after a month. With so many people with high blood pressure, even despite treatment, an additional strategy based on the intake of nitrate-rich vegetables may prove to be both cost-effective, affordable, and favorable for a public health approach to hypertension. What about those with peripheral artery disease? Tens of millions with atherosclerotic clogs, impairing blood flow to their legs, which can cause cramping pain in the calves called claudication, due to lack of blood flow through the blocked arteries, severely limiting one's ability even to just walk around. But just drink some beet juice and walk 18% longer. Now this is really neat. I've never seen this before. They measured the actual oxygenation of their blood within their calf muscle. Placebo's in white, beet is in black, showing how they were able to maintain more oxygen in their muscles with just vegetables. The nitric oxide from vegetable nitrates not only improves oxygen efficiency, but oxygen delivery by vasodilating blood vessels, opening up arteries so there's more blood flow. I'm surprised beet juice companies aren't trying to position themselves as veggie Viagra. It could certainly explain why those eating more veggies have such improved sexual function. Though this study was just a snapshot in time, so you can't tell which came first. However, it seems more reasonable that low fruit and vegetable consumption contributes to erectile dysfunction, rather than the other way around. What about the most important organ, the brain? Poor cerebral perfusion, lack of blood flow and oxygen in the brain, is associated with cognitive decline and dementia. And they show that the nitrate in vegetables may be beneficial in treating age-related cognitive decline. They showed a direct effect of dietary nitrate on cerebral blood flow within the frontal lobes, the areas particularly compromised by aging. This is a critical brain area for so-called executive function, basic task and problem-solving, important for day-to-day functioning. The nitrite from nitrate has been shown to not just increase blood flow to certain areas of the body, but also acts preferentially in low oxygen conditions, allowing it to increase blood flow precisely in the areas where it's needed the most. And that's what they found in the brain. Increased blood flow to the at-risk areas of the aging brain. And the only side effects of beating your brains out? A little extra color in your life.
All right, so this was talking a lot about beets, but you get nitric oxide from the dark green leafies in your life, unless you're really a beet eater. If you're eating a lot of beets, then you get a lot of nitric oxide. But it's the dark green leafies which combine with your saliva and form nitric oxide. Important concept, lowers blood pressure. I tell people at Volunteer in Medicine, the patients who come in, if they want to get off of their high blood pressure meds, that if they want to do that, they should start adding greens on a regular basis, a handful, several times a day, to relax the arteries and to stop eating so much oil, processed oils, because the oils tend to cause vasoconstriction and raise blood pressure. All right, Scott, you want to talk a little bit about TMAO? That's the next one.
Sure.
TMAO and gut bacteria, the microbiome, who cares? 18.
Yeah, so TMAO, trimethylamine N-oxide. So when we eat beef, so red meat, they contain a lot of carnitine. And then when we eat dairy, chicken, and eggs, they contain a lot of choline. So carnitine and choline, when we ingest those, then there are bacteria in our colon that turn those products into TMA, trimethylamine, and it gets oxidized in the liver and becomes TMAO. And this TMAO is a real bad guy. It actually causes the low density cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, to get oxidized and driven deep into our artery walls, causing inflammation. Also plays a role in heart failure, possibly even cancer. And so it's a bad thing, this TMAO. And so that's where we're getting it, is from the carnitine and the choline, basically from animal products. And what's interesting is that you acquire these bacteria when you eat these foods. And so you could give a vegan who isn't eating any meat, no dairy, no chicken, or any of that, or eggs, and you can give them those foods, and they won't actually make any TMAO because they don't have the bacteria that make the TMAO. And so, but then after a while, if you keep feeding them that, after a while, then the gut microbiome changes in the colon, and then you start to acquire these bacteria that feed on the carnitine and the choline, and start making TMAO. So that's a really paints another picture as to one of the other factors that we figured out why those foods actually increase your risk for heart disease and some of the other chronic medical conditions because of this TMAO. So actually the meat industry is trying to figure out, well, because the other reason they figured it out was because you could give antibiotics. If you give somebody antibiotics with their steak, they won't make as much TMAO because you're killing some of the bacteria that make the TMAO in the colon. So they're trying to figure out ways a chemical or something they could put in the meat so that it kills the bacteria that make the TMAO, but instead of just not eating it, because that's obviously not an option. So, but just another interesting story of some of the science. So that it's exciting when these really simple dietary changes we talk about have these huge effects on health, but it's exciting to kind of see what some of the science says about what's the reason for that, why is that. And so I think that's another check mark to a reason not to eat animal products.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What about choline pills?
Yeah, it wouldn't be a good idea either, choline or carnitine.
It's no good either. They say
No.
it's good for the brain.
Who's they? It's the people who are selling the product, who are making the profit off of selling the choline. If that's the source of information, then could be problematic.
Okay,
That-
to leave that off too.
Yeah, choline is not something that would be health promoting, actually.
Good. What about, did you say biotin?
Lecithin.
Oh, lecithin. It's no good either?
Sorry.
I'm not taking it now, but I took it in Alaska.
Well, you're not alone, Trouty. I mean, a
No
lot of
good.
people take these supplements and they believe that they're going to help them. And, when people are looking for help, they don't know who to trust, really. And so it's a problem.
Yeah, that is a problem. But I get it from the horse's mouth now, what's right and what's wrong.
The horse, yeah.
So good to know. Lecithin I don't have anymore, but the choline I have to take off.
Okay.
Oh, with goodness gracious. I missed one time and I'm making everything wrong, you see? I got
Well, you don't
the-
make everything wrong. It's just,
the protein powder I just got and the choline I got.
yeah, so try to stick with those whole foods as they're grown in nature.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
the problem is the industry, the kind of old school nutrition and still the predominant paradigm today in nutrition is deficiency diseases. And, maybe 80 to 100 years ago, yeah, there was people that had, deficiencies in certain B vitamins, and because nutrition, things were more scarce, and we saw people with pellagra berry and you know, and vitamin, you know, some certain vitamin deficiencies and things. And so so when we discovered the vitamins and minerals and all that and started making supplements, they had a role to play. And that's what, you know, we wanted to treat those deficiency diseases, but we don't have those anymore. And all the diseases now are diseases of excess. And that's the high blood pressure, the heart disease, diabetes, cancer, dementia, all these things. And supplements aren't the solution. It's the food. We got to eat the right food. And so there's you know, and a lot of the studies now, the newer science show a lot of these supplements are actually harmful, actually can cause cancer, cause problems. And so you're best off getting all your nutrients from the food. You know, there's a few exceptions to that, like we've talked about the B12 and vitamin
Yeah.
A, vitamin D and iodine and some few little things that we still need to pay attention to. But in general, just eat the food. And we've survived all these thousands and thousands of years with food. We didn't have supplements and all these different things, and we really don't need them. We just need to eat the right food.
Scott, I have a question.
Yeah.
I don't hear. So you are saying we shouldn't even try to get whole food multivitamin tablets?
No, you don't need a multivitamin because there's lots of vitamins in there that could be harmful actually. So that's why we talk about in the classes over time, you know,
Yeah.
certain vitamins we can talk about like iodine and vitamin D3 and B12 and, you know, maybe a DHA EPA supplement. There's some debate about there's some of the science on some of the other things, but B12 is the one that's a for sure slam dunk we all need no matter
Yeah.
what diet we eat. And then, but other than that, and a few other little things I just mentioned, you don't need vitamins.
Okay, yeah. So nutritional yeast is good for B12?
It's not a good reliable source of B12. You're better off taking an actual separate supplement because some nutritional yeast is fortified with B12, but it's not a reliable, consistent enough source to rely on totally. So
I
you're
see.
better off taking a supplement. So you want, if you're under age 65, you want 2,000 micrograms once a week. If you're over age 65, you want 1,000 micrograms daily.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
B12. Yep.
So
Any
how
other
about-
questions? Go ahead, Kara.
So actually, it's Kira, but I didn't.
Kira, okay.
So
Sorry.
once you stop with the dairy and the meat, how long till your gut health improves where you're not producing those poisons?
Oh, actually only several days. I think that in the studies, it was somewhere between 3 to 7 days. So it changes really quickly.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow. And somebody had recommended and I had been taking, and now I just ordered them again. And it was the salmon fish oil with turmeric in it. And it helped with pain, but I'm guessing that's probably not good. Is that good? I don't know.
Just take the turmeric, get a quarter teaspoon of the spiced turmeric with a pinch of black pepper daily. It's in Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen. So well, yeah, a quarter teaspoon of the spiced turmeric with a pinch of black pepper. And then, yeah, you don't want the fish oil aspect. You want the turmeric, but not the fish oil.
Well, I'll finish those. I mean,
Yeah.
I just bought $125 worth of them. So
Oh boy, yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna, I don't know if I can return them, but I'll call now.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Oh yeah. And then you get all your omega-3s you're be getting from, you know, flax seeds, walnuts, chia seeds. That's where your good sources of omega-3. So that's taken the place of the fish oil. That's the shorter chain fatty acids. If you want the long chain, you can either eat some sea vegetables is a good source, or you could go ahead and take a supplement of DHA EPA, which is a supplement. I take one once a week just because the science seems to kind of go back and forth. It's not super slam dunk, but so I take one once a week.
What's a sea vegetable, like seaweed?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Dulse or wakame. Wakame has the WAKAME has the greatest amount of medium and long chain omega-3s.
Cool, thanks.
But it's be careful, get the smaller size granules as opposed to the bigger leaf. The bigger leaves are kind of mushy and like eating very mushy seaweed, as opposed to having it a bit stiffer.
How do you spell that? The wakame? How do you spell that?
Wakame, wakame. I think it's at Whole Foods also, or they're at other places too, natural grocers probably, and other places. Any other questions from the group?
Charles, I have another question.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
Hi. So what do you do for Charlie horse? Like at night when you're sleeping, sometimes you get your nerves kind of caught up straight,
Yeah, so I stretch my calf out, like, like I pull my toes up toward my knee
Yeah,
until it relaxes. And
okay,
sometimes it can be quite painful
Right.
initially. So you kind of have to get on it pretty quickly. But it's stretching that calf by doing plantar,
Mhm, mhm. Okay.
I guess it would be plantar extension, dorsiflexion. Dorsiflexion is what it
I
is.
see. So you don't recommend any supplements like magnesium or anything like that?
I personally don't take it, and the calf issues that come are maybe 2 times a year, maybe 3. If
Mhm.
I were having them every week, taking some magnesium supplementation or eating enough vegetables with magnesium in it would be my first choice. But then if that didn't work, maybe taking some magnesium supplement has seemed to work for some people, at least according to the lay literature. I don't have any science on that. Scott, do you?
Yeah, I mean, the studies are not good when it comes to what causes muscle cramps. There's no reliable, there's been no proof that it's caused by any kind of deficiency or vitamin or nutrient related thing. It has more to do with hydration, so it seems to be, so if you're not getting enough fluids, water, it can increase for sure. And then the other associations that seem to be consistent are when people are doing more exercise or more activity than they're used to, or less activity than they're used to. So when you're used to having a certain amount of physical activity using your muscles, and then you suddenly become more sedentary, that seems to increase risk for muscle cramps. And then the opposite, you're pretty sedentary and you're suddenly exercising and using your muscles more, that can increase the muscle cramps. And some people are just predisposed to them more than other people. So as far as I know, I don't know of any good randomized controlled trials that show that there's any real cause that we can nail down, just those
see.
associations.
Okay. Yeah, my GP had suggested take multivitamins to be on the safe side.
Yeah. So the other thing is now that you bring it up, I haven't had muscle cramps for many, many months. I don't know whether that is related to the fact that I'm playing tennis several times a week or pickleball, or whether it's related to the fact that I'm eating blueberries, almost a full cup every day, and or
Mhm.
maybe eating dark cherries. For recovery, blueberries and dark cherries to recover from injuries, it's helpful to eat those
Yeah,
berries. And so maybe incorporating a bit more of that into your diet might be what I would do as a first step before I went to the multivitamin.
okay, thank you. Yeah, I ate lots of raspberries because we had tons of them in our garden.
Okay, great. What else?
You get a lot of information today.
We're
I don't know if anybody
having fun.
Yes.
I don't know if anybody drinks coffee or tea, or that nobody does a caffeine. And what do you drink in it? I was doing oat milk with low sugar, and I thought that's over processed. I went back to regular milk, and now clearly that wasn't the answer. So I'm in a quandary. Or does everybody just drink green tea?
can't sleep with it.
I just drink herbal tea in the morning. My wife has an occasional cup of coffee and she'll use like oat milk with it, but she doesn't add sugar. But if you add a little honey or a little sugar as a taste, it wouldn't be a crime. It's just that it's not healthy food. It's just like a taste. So if you're doing a little taste here and there, it's probably all right, depending on what your benefits. Scott, what's your take?
Yeah, I
But
mean,
isn't
if you're gonna do
honey-
coffee, decaf would be better because, you know, caffeine's a drug, and if you have anxiety issues or sleep issues, it's better to, or blood pressure issues, it'd be best to stay away from caffeine. But yeah, it's what you put in the coffee or the tea that makes whether it tells you whether it's healthy or unhealthy. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't do sugar. With my tea, I'll do a little bit of honey. And I was doing oat milk with low or no sugar in it. And then I saw, well, maybe that's so processed. I should go back to just organic whole milk. And
no, I would do the oat milk before I do the dairy. You don't want
well, yeah, now I know. So it's in the refrigerator after last week. I guessed that. I just wanted to confirm. So that's great because yeah, I'm not ready to give up caffeine. I've done that before and I don't have problems with the others as much. So, oh, good. Thank you.
Is there a specific concern that you're trying to address, like high blood pressure or like diabetes?
Right now, my
or-
cholesterol is, but I eat really clean. But
Yeah.
now that I'm listening to more of the stuff, I have to go to the next layer of clean. I mean, I eat at home 80 to 90% of the time, and I only have whole foods in my house for the most part. I do have like wheat pitas to put hummus in and a bunch of veggies, but I need to look at some of the other things. Like, I mean, today I heard nuts be dangerous to that, but I add a little bit of nuts to my steel oats in the morning. So
Yeah.
is that bad? Is that good? AJ
okay.
thought bad, but
That's okay. I mean, just a handful of nuts and seeds a day is fine. A little bit of saturated fat in there as far as cholesterol, but if you're eating any animal products, that would be number one to get rid of if you're trying to lower cholesterol, because that's where the most harmful saturated fats would be in the animal products. So meat or dairy, cheese, those types.
and I have non-fat Greek yogurt. I just got rid of the milk, and I only eat meat probably every other week. I'll eat a lean meat, and sometimes 2 weeks in a row, not at all. I mean, a lot of beans and lentils and stuff.
What about eggs?
Yeah, but I have them, but I mean, a dozen eggs will last me about a month and a half, 2 months.
Okay. Because yeah,
I don't eat a lot of them, so that's why she sent me here, because I'm like, what am I doing?
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, if your goal is to get the cholesterol as low as possible, then you want zero animal products. I mean, that's really all you can do from a diet standpoint to reduce that cholesterol number. Now, there's a lot more than just what your cholesterol number is when it comes to heart disease. It's also, inflammation and exercise and not smoking and lowering stress and not eating processed foods either, sugar, flour, oils, all those things that cause inflammation. So animal products cause inflammation, processed foods cause inflammation. And then, so yeah, the whole, you read Dr. Esselson's book, Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease. I mean, it's, animal products at all. And if you're not just coming off bypass surgery or a stent, you probably have to be as strict as he has in his book, but in general, yeah, just getting rid of the animal products. And some people are hyper responders when it comes to cholesterol. Like I've had patients where, including Dr. Kim Williams, who used to be the president of the American College of Cardiology, he has a really good story. He was already vegetarian and he had really, really high cholesterol, super high. And he was eating a little bit of cheese. He got rid of the cheese, wasn't eating any meat. He was a vegetarian, but he was still eating eggs. And he got rid of the cheese. Cholesterol went down a little bit more, but still really high. But he was only eating like 2 eggs a week is all. And his cholesterol was still through the roof. And it wasn't until he got rid of the 2 eggs a week, then his cholesterol dropped like a rock. And so he's what you call a hyper responder. And I have many patients that fall into that category. What that is genetic, but some people don't have very much of an enzyme in their liver that breaks down cholesterol, because we, again, have no dietary requirement for cholesterol. Our liver makes all that we need. And so some people just can't break it down and it stays really high. And then others of us have a lot more cholesterol stored in our liver, and sometimes it takes a while for that cholesterol number to come down. It's, because you got to go through all the storage of cholesterol. But again, yeah, just trying to get rid of the no animal products whatsoever, which is meat, cheese, eggs, dairy. Nothing that came from nothing with a mother or a face is what we say.
Right, yeah, I remember somebody
The
saying,
Greek yogurt would still be, even though it's low fat, it would still be considered an animal product. It would
Oh.
still cause inflammation potentially. So
I'm willing to, I told her, I don't want to be on meds for the rest of my life. So this is the first time I've gotten to where I'm now having to take them. And so, yeah, I'm more than willing to see if this is what flips it.
The other way you could look at this is that you don't have to do this for your whole life, that you could do an experiment on your body where you say, I'm going to take out 4 to 6 weeks of my life and I'm going to just do it and see what happens, and then recheck my cholesterol after 4 to 6 weeks. I know for me, I did it completely from day one for my wife's sake, and my cholesterol dropped from 240 to 148 in 30 days. So, but I wasn't eating any animal product whatsoever, was not eating any processed food, no oils, no chips, none of the foods that I was so used to eating. Didn't eat out ever,
I do olive
because
oil, but yeah, I don't have a lot of processed food in my house. I don't have chips in my house. I eat those things when I eat my out once or twice a week, but it sounds like that will stop as well. But yeah, I don't know if I'll do full until maybe after the holidays. We'll have to see.
yeah, so
That
that's
might
a
be a rough
decision
first Thanksgiving and Christmas.
you get to make. It. There is a decision, and it may be that there are just different strategies that you can consider.
Yeah, I'm all up for giving it a whack. It's like you said, 4 to 6 weeks. I want to see the data. If I can try that, that'd be great.
Yeah, you can. I mean, that is a strategy. And it wouldn't mean that would be as low as it would ever get. But if you had a really dramatic response, it might be, hey, this worked pretty well. I wonder what it'll do if I do it another 4 to 6 weeks. And you could do it that way.
Yeah, this has been great. Thank you so much. I didn't mean to bogart this.
Not a problem. It's helpful for others too to hear this.
I have 2 questions.
Yes, Dorothea.
One is, what's the issue with nuts and seeds? And the other one is, what about the supplement, chondroitin, glucosamine chondroitin?
Yeah. So the nuts and seeds issue is the fat and the oils in the calorie density of nuts and seeds. A small amount of them is probably helpful, but if you're trying to lose weight, then it's not so helpful. So if you're trying to gain some weight, having some more nuts and seeds is probably an okay thing to do. So that's one thing about the nuts and seeds. We were talking about weight loss earlier before this class, and so they seem to be problematic for people who are trying to lose weight.
I give,
And then the other question, what's the other? Scott, you want?
Chondroitin and glucosamine. There's no good studies that show it really does anything. There's some people kind of really are buying into it, and if there's a placebo effect, they think it's helping. That's probably not harmful, but it's probably money not well spent. But yeah, there's no really good randomized controlled trials on it really doing anything.
And it's a supplement that's not regulated, I don't think either. So you don't even know if what you're getting sometimes.
Charlie,
Yes,
for
Dolly.
for Kyra, I found almond milk yogurt at Walmart and also at Whole Foods, and the brand name is Silk, and you can get it plain or vanilla or some with the fruit. The fruit has a lot of sugar in it, but the other is fairly plain.
That's good. No, I only buy plain and add my own stuff. So that's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Ken, did you have a question?
A couple things. Chondroitin and glucosamine, if you look into them, are animal products. And I give them to my dog just because she's 12 and I don't want her stoved up. And it's just recommended that you give dogs that stuff, and I don't think it'll hurt them since I know where it comes from. I won't go into detail, but if you're interested, you can find out, I'm sure, on the internet. I just know from my career involving animal production where those come from. The other thing, I got two. One is I've learned about this. I might say it wrong. Jiminy silvestre. It's Gumar, and it's a herb that is proven apparently by research at university, name escapes me, but we say it all the time. Reduce sugar cravings and improves glucose control. So has anybody heard of it? Gumar. And you can get tea. You can get Gumar tea. Nobody's heard of it?
I haven't.
I'll continue to look into it a little bit for fun. And then the other thing is I was late. And so if you guys listened to Chef Egg Day tonight, I missed it. So can you tell me how to find the one you guys watched?
I'll have it posted on the website when Charlie sends it to me, when I get the recording. I'll have it up.
Okay, that gives me an excuse not to watch it tonight.
Yeah, you don't need to watch it tonight. It's not available tonight. Okay, Marcia.
Yeah, what supplement did you say wasn't regulated?
Chondroitin and glucosamine for joint health, but they said there's no proof, and I don't think there is any either.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Ken.
Okay, everybody. It seems like we've come to the end of another session, and we'll be back again. We've got a few more questions to go over, and look forward to seeing you here next week. Scott, thank you a bunch.
Thank
And
you both.
Thanks for the group.
Thanks.
It's been fun.
Thanks,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good week.
You too.
Yeah, you too.